A very blessed and good morning to all. Honorable Principal, Nirmala College Ranchi, and patron of the 5-day skill development program in English language, Dr. Sister Jyoti, respected Vice Principal, Sister Shobha, our esteemed resource persons for the program, Dr. Revathi Srinivas, Department of Materials Development Testing and Evaluation, School of English Language Education, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, Telangana, and Professor M.E. Vedasharan, Department of English as Second Language Studies, School of English Language Education, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, Telangana, CP Coordinator and Head of the Department Geography, Dr. Devjani Roy, my dear colleagues and our enthusiast participants. On behalf of the entire organizing committee, I, Dr. Sukanya, welcome you all to the 5-day skill development program in English language organized by CP Committee and Department of English, Nirmala College Ranchi, with academic support from mentors from the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, sponsored under the UGC CP scheme. These 2 days have been the most enthralling experience of learning English communication skills from a totally different perspective and dimension. The sessions so far have been so interesting that it has kept us glued to our screens, and the huge response of our participants have said it all. So come, let's venture out for more with our erudite mentor for the session, Dr. Revathi Srinivas. Be attentive, dear participants, because there will be a lot to learn today. And do not forget to submit your attendance cum feedback forms that will be posted at the end of the 2 hour on your YouTube chat box as well as WhatsApp group. Seeking the permission of the chair to move ahead, I now request our esteemed resource person for the session 5, day 3, Dr. Revathi Srinivas, to begin her deliberation. As we await for our resource persons for the session, let us recapitulate on what we have done before. And here she is. Welcome you, ma'am, and over to you.
Am I audible?
Absolutely, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. You're audible.
Good morning. Good morning. I think normally whenever we saw each other, we would say good morning or hi, how are you? The internet sessions have made us change that, and the first question we ask is, am I audible? Such is life, isn't it? Okay. Did you have a good evening? Did you dream of anything from the song that you have listened to yesterday? Some responses? Did you enjoy listening to the song yesterday? Okay. A quick recap of anything that you remember from the song, something that has attracted your attention or something that has appealed to you the most. Any word, any phrase, any sentence, whatever you can remember, just recall that. Okay, money, money. Well, no world without money. Fair enough. Okay. In my dreams, I have a plan. Sonali, do you also have some plan? Okay, Sonali has some plans. Well, we'll check out what she has. It'll never be the same. Always sunny. Do the students from the YouTube channel also have they responded? Have they said anything? It's a rich man's world. Yes. I must leave. I'll have to go. Can we have some responses from students who are viewing this on from the YouTube?
Ma'am, I've just posted them on the chat box. You'll see them right away.
All right.
Mary, Vanessa, Anshu Kumari, they are all from YouTube. I'm just posting them from the YouTube for you to view them.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Do you have the song in front of you? That is those two worksheets that we had looked at yesterday. If you remember, towards the end of the session, we had said that if we put those two worksheets together, then you get the entire song. Do you have that in front of you? All right, just quickly run through that once. And would you please post the third worksheet to them? Sukanya, right?
Yes, ma'am. We are posting the third worksheet to them.
I'm talking to Dr. Sukanya, right?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Oh, great, great.
Ma'am, we have a little lag in time for the YouTube. So the students' response from the YouTube will come a bit late, like a few seconds, 30, 40 seconds or a minute late.
No problem. We'll take them as they come. Perhaps you could stop me in between and share their responses so that they feel they are involved in the process. It's not like we are neglecting them in any way.
Sure, ma'am. I'll just do that. Thank you.
Has everyone received the worksheet?
Yes, ma'am. Their worksheets have been posted on the different groups on YouTube as well as WhatsApp.
Okay. Do you think the students on YouTube would have received it?
Yes, ma'am. They
Should
would have
wait.
received it. Yeah, it's been posted a minute ago, as soon as you said, but they might take a little while to
All right.
download it, depending on their own internet speed.
Okay. Students on YouTube would have received it? Okay. In front of you and look at the first exercise over there. It says, pay attention to the words in bold in this line from the song. I'd fool around and have a ball. Can you identify where that line occurs in the song? There are two stanzas in the song and then there is a refrain, something that keeps repeating. So if you look at the first one, the first stanza, where would you get this word? The one that I have indicated in bold. All right. First stanza, last line. So it says, I wouldn't have to work at all. I'd fool around and have a ball. So what is the meaning of the word to fool around? What does it mean?
Ma'am, we have answers from YouTube also. Rashmi Singh says in the first stanzas.
Okay. To be carefree, to have fun, yes. Spend leisure time, or should I wait? Okay, the first exercise over there, fool around and have a ball. keeps repeating word. The one that first stanza, last line. So what is the meaning? Okay, your time, not really. Joy. To have fun. Okay. Your
here
father or your
Ashita.
mother say something like this to you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Here we have some answers. Neha says it's in the first to have fun. Akansha says to move around and have fun. Um, Another person here, Rashmi Singh says to roam around.
To roam
And
around.
Akansha Sinha says to move around, be carefree. Neha Kumari says to do hard work in order to earn. Aditi Narayan, to roam around. Anshu Kumari says to have fun. I think most of them says to have fun.
Most of them have said this. Suppose to put it in another context, your teacher or somebody senior to you or your father or your mother says something like this. Your exams are around the corner, so don't fool around. What does that mean? Okay, don't joke, don't waste time. So to fool around is like spending your time in trivial things without being very, very serious. That's the meaning aspect of the word. Can you identify what that is an example of? Like when we say this is a noun, that is a verb, or something is an adverb, and so on. What do you think the word or this one fool around? What is that an example of?
Ma'am, we have some answers in
Verb,
YouTube.
phrase,
Some,
verbs.
they, ma'am, there are some answers in the YouTube which says don't waste your time.
Okay.
Don't waste your
All right.
time. Don't loiter
Here,
around.
this. Okay.
8 to 10 people have said the same.
Chat box, most people have said it is a phrase. One is from the phrase. Jyoti, phrasal verb. Okay. What is a phrasal verb? Idiom. All right. What is a phrasal verb? That's the answer, right? That's the answer. Fool around is an example of a phrasal verb. What is a phrasal verb? You find if can you check the song, those two stanzas in the song, and tell me if you can identify any other examples of phrasal verbs. Yes, a verb is combined with an adverb or a noun or something like that. Yes. Okay. A verb, All right, it is. What is a phrasal idiom or phrasal verb? That's the answer, right? That's the phrasal verb.
Ma'am, we have some answers from YouTube. Can I read them out?
Mm-hmm.
Shivani
Sure.
Kumari says a verb that is combined with adverb. Neha says phrasal verb which is used in
Mm-hmm.
context of sentence for a specific manner. Ashwini writes
Okay.
a verb combined with an adverb or preposition.
All right.
And Neha Kumari writes, I think it's just gone. Kanak writes a verb that is combined with adverb or preposition or sometimes both.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you give me examples of other phrasal verbs in the song, if there are any?
Ma'am, Indu
Okay.
Kumari says, ain't it sad? This is the one she's found from the song.
Sure.
Sanjana says, have a ball. Arushi
Have
writes,
a ball. Okay.
it's a rich
Mhm.
man world.
As an example of a phrasal verb, have a ball. Oh. So we have rich man's world. Then
And Anshu
I'm just
writes,
putting the responses.
Anshu Kumari says, she looks down on me.
Where is that from the song? Please identify examples from the song, not other words. All right,
Rashmi,
please let's do
Rashmi
it
says,
there. Let's look at the, yeah. Let's look at the first stanza. There are let's look at there are 4 or 5 sentences. I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad? Do it together. Let's look 4 or 5 sentences in that. Pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad or no? In the first line, I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad? In that sentence, is there an example of a phrasal verb? Diksha says yes. In the first sentence, which is an example of a phrasal pay the bills. Is that a phrasal verb? Check your responses. Ain't it sad is actually isn't it sad. That's an archaic form of saying ain't. So isn't it sad is a tag question. It's not a verb. And pay the bills is not a phrasal verb. So in the first sentence, we don't have any. If you go to the next one, and still there never seems to be a single penny left for me, that's too bad. Right. Shivasri is right. There is no in the first sentence phrasal verb in this sentence or in the next sentence as well. So if you go on to the next one, in my dreams, I have a plan. If I got me a wealthy man, In these two also, there is no phrasal verb. The last sentence of the first and the first, and still there never seems to be a single right. Shivasri is right, there is no phrasal verb. Example, fool around. I'd fool around and have a ball. So in this sentence, fool around is an example of a phrasal verb. Similarly, if you come to the next stanza, a man like that is hard to find, but I can't get him off my mind. Over there, can't get him off. So get off is an example of a phrasal verb. All right. So these two are examples of phrasal verbs that, yes, get off. These are the two phrasal verbs that you can identify in the song. Shall we go ahead, or if you have any questions, we can take them. Otherwise, we'll go to the next part of the worksheet. Fool around and have a ball. So in the sentence, fool is given to you. I hope everyone has that. Yes, get. Shall we go ahead of the worksheet? Okay. What is the difference in meaning in the use of the words in bold? For instance, if you look at the first one, my mobile bill this month is shockingly high. The bird carried a fish in its bill. Over these two are examples of phrasal verbs. Shall we go ahead part of the worksheet? Okay. Cases, the word in use is bill. Is there a difference in the okay? Shubhra Karan says bill expense and bill is whole. There is a difference. All right. Okay. So in the first instance, where you say mobile bill, that is a bill which is given to you because you have used the mobile and you have to pay. Whereas the bird carried a fish in its bill. Okay. This way, you look at the other sentences and tell me what it means. Mhm. Mhm.
Ma'am, I've just posted on the Zoom chat box the various answers that we have received on the YouTube chat box. So
Hmm. We'll take them up sentence by sentence. So the first one we've already done together. The word in the first sentence, my mobile bill, refers to the payment that we make towards something that we have consumed. Whereas the bird carried a fish in its bill is the beak of some of the birds which are called as bill. Now please give your responses to the second sentence. Perhaps some of them can unmute themselves and share. They may not use their videos, but just the audios. The second sentence.
Participants on Zoom, dear students, you're requested to unmute yourself and answer one by one. Okay?
Ma'am,
Just unmute yourself. Yeah.
ma'am,
Yes,
am
Diksha.
I
Just
audible?
just the
Yes, yes.
second one, please.
Ma'am,
Only the second sentence.
yes, ma'am. In the second sentence, in the first one says that the person, that man is a bachelorette. He is not married because he can't find a girl, a proper girl. And in second
Mm-hmm.
sentence, it means that the woman has spent all of her money. I mean, she has none left with her.
Okay. Can we have a couple of other people give us responses? Do you all agree with what she has said?
Good morning, ma'am.
Is that? Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. The first single is about a person who is not married yet or is not in a relationship, and the second
Okay.
single is that the lady has spent all her money and she is left with no money right now.
All right. So can we all take this as the responses? Or is there anyone with any other answer? All right. Let's move ahead and have another 2 or 3 people give responses to the third one. It's a bright and sunny morning. The future of India is bright and sunny.
Ma'am,
Yes, volunteers, please.
ma'am, the first one is talking about the weather, that the day is very bright and sunny, and the second one is talking about someone's future that would be very prosperous and bright.
All right. Okay. Um, I saw a few responses in the chat box which also echo the same response that you've given, Sonali. So I'm moving to the next one, the fourth one, which says, mind your step, the floor is slippery. I am in two minds whether to buy a house or not.
Ma'am,
If we have someone tell us.
ma'am, in the first sentence, mind your step, it means be careful of your step because the floor is slippery.
Mhm.
And in the second one,
Response that you give your step, the floor is slippery.
and in the second ones,
I'm in two
I'm in
minds
two
whether to buy
minds. It means
two
that
minds.
the person
So
is dubious. He's not sure of
two
whether
minds.
to buy or not. So he's dubious.
All right. Unsure is
Ma'am,
the correct kind of expression. Okay.
ma'am,
Yes, ma'am. In the
in
first one,
Anyone from YouTube? Hmm?
ma'am, can I speak?
Yes, Sonali. Please go ahead.
So, ma'am, in the first one, matlab, a
Anyone
person
from?
is
Yes,
a
Sonali.
person is
Please go
telling
ahead.
to
From
mind
YouTube?
in the sense
Please
to
go
be
ahead.
careful, and in the second one, the person is in a dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
He's confused between two
Okay.
things.
Dilemma or being unsure, not able to make up one's mind.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's go to the last one. Perhaps we can have responses from the YouTube channel for the last one.
Yes, ma'am. We
Being
have a lot of responses coming
self-confident.
from YouTube.
Okay, let's take the ones for the last sentence, last set of sentences.
Ma'am,
I've just posted them, ma'am.
Let's go to the last one, self-confident of sentences.
ma'am,
All right, let's go to the last one, self-confident sentences.
yes.
Please
Ma'am,
go
in
on.
the first sentence, being self-confident, he's game for any challenge. I think the first game means he's in for any challenge, he's ready for any challenge. And in the second, it means the
Mm-hmm.
literal game, the game of chess. I mean, the actual game, indoor game of chess.
Right, exactly. He is game for any challenge means he's willing to take that risk, he is into it completely, and so on. Someone is willing to take any kind of a risk. Whereas the second one is just a reference to any game. Fine, a little bit of homework for you. Now we've looked at words which have the same spelling, which are even pronounced in the same way. This game for its words called. You don't have to answer that straight away. Think about it and get back to me. All right, let's go back to the song once again. A couple of more activities that I would want you to take up. I'm going to use this as a little bit of homework time for you. Would you please take this down? I'm going to key this here as I talk to you. I hope everyone is familiar with adjectival phrases. Are you? Okay. So the little bit of homework I'm planning to give you is identify the adjectival phrases in the song. Just make a list of those. That's number one. The second bit of work for you is look at the use of the word must. Is there any difference in the way the word is used in the song? What I mean to say is, if you look at the first refrain, it says money, money, money must be funny in the rich man's world. And identify if there is any other must in the song. So what is the meaning of the word must? If it has been used 2 or 3 times, is the meaning same wherever it has been used? And the last one is, I'm typing 2 sentences. It says, in the rich man's world, and it also says, in a rich man's world. What is the difference between these two? Don't give me any responses now. This is for you to think about for your homework. All right. Dr. Sukanya, will the ones on the YouTube channel also get to see this, or are you going to post it to them?
We've already posted it, ASAP, ma'am. As simultaneously you were saying, we've posted it. So they've got their homework.
Okay. If they have any questions, perhaps we could take them in the sense, did they understand what exactly they're supposed to do?
Okay, ma'am. Sure. We'll just wait for a minute or two for their responses to come in.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, who are on the same platform, please let me know if it is clear to you in terms of what you're supposed to do. Don't give me any responses straight away, but are you clear about the activity, what you're supposed to do? One is identifying the adjectival phrases. The other one is to identify the use of the word must and see whether it is used in the same way in the context as it appears, or is there a difference? And the third one is the phrase, a rich man's world and the rich man's world. Is it the same, or is there any difference? If there is any difference, what is the difference? Okay, great.
Ma'am, we have some answers from YouTube. They say
No,
that
we
yes,
don't want. Okay.
that they say that they've understood the question. They have understood your assignment.
All right. We'll get back to this when we meet in the next session. Okay. I am going to wind up discussion related to the song which we began yesterday by drawing your attention to 1 or 2 things which is very typical of spoken English. For example, if you look at the last sentence of the first stanza, It says, I wouldn't have to work at all. I'd fool around and have a ball. Look at these two words, wouldn't and I'd. Do you know what these are examples of?
Can someone from Zoom, some of the students from Zoom answer this immediately? Unmute yourself and answer, ma'am.
In case they know.
Ma'am, it's a pattern where a syllable is eliminated. When a syllable is understood, the syllable is eliminated. So they will not write would not, they would just go with wouldn't. And same goes
Mm-hmm.
for I'd.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else who wants to say something?
Ma'am, we have answers in YouTube. Can I read them out?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
Arushi says it's a question tag, question tags. And there is another response. I don't know why she retracted it back after I started saying. So we'll just wait for them to post more.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't means negative and Ayud means positive. Rashmi Singh.
Okay. All right. They've understood it in a different way. I am not trying to look at the meaning of the word, but when we say would not and when we say wouldn't, why is it called as wouldn't? Why not would not? So the answer to this question is that what we are looking at right now are examples of what is called contracted forms. And use of contracted forms is a typical feature of spoken English. All right. So the most common ones that we have is something like, I'm going to be there tomorrow. So you won't say, I am going to be there, but you say, I'm going to be there. And you also say, it's beautiful. So you don't say it is beautiful, but you say it's beautiful. So words like these are examples of contracted form where in speech we do not use the complete word or words. In fact, there are two words. What are the words? I would not work, contracted as I wouldn't work. Similarly, I would fool around, contracted. You don't say it is, you say it's beautiful. List of contracted forms available to us. And this is a very typical feature of spoken English. Similarly, if you scroll down, contracted as on the song, you have It's a Rich Man's World. That's one more example. Similarly, the rich man's world, that's one more. So there is contracted forms. Similarly, if you scroll, for example, and in the first line like that is hard to find, but I can't get him off my mind, is an example of a contracted form. In the subsequent line, you see, that's too bad. That is too bad is the actual sentence. Contracted, that's too bad. And then the next one, so I must leave, I'll have to go. I will have to go becomes I'll have to go. So these are some of the examples of contracted forms that we make use of in speech. So now I'm moving into discussing with you some of the features of yes, Shubhra says, I bet he wouldn't fancy me. Again, wouldn't is an example of a contracted form. So now I'm drawing your attention to some of the features of spoken English. I'm using the word some because it's practically impossible for me to discuss with you everything in such a short span. So I've kind of put together the most important ones, which will help us in communicating in a better way. So when we talk about features of spoken English, there are chiefly 5 of them. We'll take them up one after the other. The first one is pronunciation. Why do you think pronunciation or appropriate pronunciation is one of the features of spoken English? I think there's some issue in between. Yeah, only one response communication. To avoid miscommunication. Okay, once more. All right. I'm going to rephrase my question, move a little aside into another area for an effective communication. Okay. Listen to my question carefully. Who in your why is the benefit of using? There is a question coming up here. There's a very lengthy one which I am kind of skipping. All right, let's do this little exercise now. Please listen to me carefully and give your responses. If I ask you to give me the name of any person who you think is a fluent speaker, can be in any language, your mother tongue, Hindi, English, or any other language, what is the first name that comes to you as an example of fluent speaker? You unmute and tell me names as possible. I said in you have to give me sample of a fluent speaker whose name comes to mind.
Ma'am, there's a request from the YouTube. Kindly repeat your question. Because of network issues, they might not have been able to hear it properly.
But I have keyed in here that if you have to give the name of a couple of people who you think are fluent speakers, who would they be? Just give the names, the first names that come to your mind. Issue in between? Yeah, only Asian. Okay. As an example of that's why I'm keeping can be from any field, any politicians, cine actors, or your teachers or your neighbors. Chopra, Prachi ma'am, Shashi Tharoor, Abdul Kalam, Modi, Gary V. All right. Okay. Okay. Dhoni. Okay.
Ma'am, on YouTube, we have Dipanvita writing Priyanka Chopra. Anshu writes Gandhiji. Swati Kumari writes Anjana ma'am. Archana Prajapati writes Sukanya ma'am. Priya Jha writes Jose Verghese. Preeti Nanda writes Prachi. Astha writes Dushyant Kumar.
Okay. All right. So we have quite a few names coming up over here. The next add-on question is, why did these names come to you? Why didn't anyone give me their own names? Okay, Shubhra Karan says they communicate fluently, and because we somewhat lack in fluent English, okay. Sir, when they speak, they are very clear. Okay, so
These are the responses from YouTube. I've just posted on Zoom.
can I open a Word document? It says host disable attendee screen sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, now it's
I
enabled.
want
You
to
can share the screen.
Yeah, but I want to open a Word document, a blank Word document.
Ma'am, is it
Where do
open
I
on your
get?
background? Like, is it already working? Open in the
No,
background?
no. Okay, I need to do that, right? Just give
Yes,
me
ma'am.
half a second.
Sure, ma'am. Meanwhile, I would request all participants on Zoom and YouTube to be attentive. And as soon as you get your questions, we are getting good responses from YouTube and also on Zoom, and we are very happy to have that. So as soon as you get your questions, do type. We'd want more people on YouTube to, respond than the usual ones. We
Uh,
have a resource person back.
Dr. Sukanya, is the Word document visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it's very visible.
All
You're
right. So
sharing
some
your
of the
screen, and yeah.
I'm also simultaneously looking at the responses. Then they've lack of confidence, and then the people who speak well are they have clarity. Then there were a few more that we were looking at. Increase the font size, I'll do that. So clarity, confidence, lack of vocabulary is another one. They are, when you say they are not hesitant, it means they are confident. Okay, they are able to connect. Then my question will be how. Okay, they are convincing. Anything else that made you choose these people?
Ma'am, we have some answers from YouTube. Can I read
Yes,
them, ma'am?
please. Yes, I'll key them in.
Yes. Arunima says it's easy to understand. Mansi says vocabulary
Mm-hmm.
and grammar.
Mm-hmm.
Shakuntala Mahato says because of their speaking is nice. I think she's not framed it well, but she must have meant that they speak well. And most of them say either grammar, fluency, something which comes from practice, because we learn from
Mm-hmm.
them, and confidence, Saima Sami.
Okay, they're confident about what they speak.
Yeah,
Right.
Arushi
Now
says
let's
they can
look at.
interact very well.
Okay.
And Asta says they use the use of strong words
Mm-hmm.
and clarity by Rupali, because of clarity in their speech.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Clarity, fluency, and I think confidence is a very common thing that the YouTube participants are posting. And Rupali says it's
Okay.
easy to understand them.
Here, someone, Shubhangi has said accent is really very nice, and then they're confident about what they speak. Fluency is something which comes from practice. Okay. They are able to reach to our heart. All right. Lack of confidence is the most important reason. Okay, fine, fair enough. Now let us look at the responses you have given me. I'll decrease the font a little bit so that is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Very
All
clear and
right.
bold.
Okay, let's take up each of them. When you say that someone's speech is very clear to me, what exactly do we have in mind when we say this? Again, you can post your responses. How do we understand this term clarity? It is understandable. Okay, so you are linking clarity to vocabulary, meaningful, good pronunciation, and also voice.
Ma'am, a YouTube response says that very helpful and easy to understand, good pronunciation, Kekashan, Fatma.
Hmm.
It means that we have understood well, Anshukumari.
Okay. Over here, it says good interaction and pronunciation. So again and again, this word pronunciation is coming up. So when we talk about clarity, we have several aspects to it. One, of course, definitely is in relation to the pronunciation. For instance, or yeah, for instance, if I have to say, um, I want to leave and I say I want to live, my pronunciation is hampering the communication in a major way because there is a lot of difference between leave, which is a long vowel, and live, which is a short vowel. Right. Similarly, words like whole and whole. So, one of the aspects of being clear is by ensuring that our pronunciation is reasonably good. I'm not saying that we should all have pronunciation like the way the Westerners have it, but it should be reasonably good. The second aspect related to clarity is when your thought process is in a certain order. For example, when you listen to somebody, if this person has properly planned his or her speech, then you see a logical progression in the argument. Then you say, well, it is very clear. Suppose a person keeps jumping from point number 1 to point number 5 and then back to 2 and then to 4 and then to 1 and then to 3. It is very confusing for us to understand because the ideas are not organized in a logical manner. So these aspects will ensure that we are clear in terms of what we are going to say or what we have said. Probably that is what you had in mind when you said it is easy to understand. Let's come to the next point, which is confidence. How do you ensure that you're confident when you want to say something? One, you should have enough background knowledge about what you're going to say. Second, you should have ideas to share. Third, you should have adequate vocabulary, sentence structure, and so on. So, whatever we have listed over here in terms of able to connect, convincing, easy to understand, become a major part of what you have written in the first one under clarity. You will be clear only when you have, if your grammar is appropriate, and also if you have enough content knowledge. That is something which is missing over here. I'm going to add that. To give you another example, I consider myself to be fairly comfortable and confident in speaking in English. But if you want me to talk about world politics, I know I'm going to fail miserably because my content knowledge is minimal. So if I have only content knowledge, but I don't have language abilities, then I'm going to fail. On the other hand, if I have excellent language abilities, but if I don't have enough content knowledge, then also I'm going to fail. So what is important to understand is that these two should go hand in hand. Knowledge about whatever topic you want to discuss or share or persuade or argue for. Along with that, knowledge of grammar, vocabulary. When I say grammar, I also talk about the sentence structures and so on. When you have command over all these, that is what lends to what you have written here as fluency. And that comes with practice. A couple of minutes to take your questions now. Any questions, or can I go ahead?
Ma'am, we don't have any questions on YouTube because of the lag, time lag. We'll just wait for a
Okay.
few seconds. They are just full of appreciation, saying that we understand, nice explanation. Janvi Sharma says the good attitude of talking and using wise words.
All right. All that is a part of your vocabulary.
And most of the YouTube participants have just posted that they have no questions. It's very clear to them. And please go ahead, ma'am. That's their
Okay,
response.
thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm taking you back to the features of spoken English, wherein we began with looking at pronunciation. So you might wonder why pronunciation is one of the important factors. In order to explain that, I did this little exercise of asking you to think about a good speaker and how pronunciation becomes one of the important aspects of spoken English. Now we will go to the next aspect.
Ma'am, can I interrupt here?
Sure.
There are two participants on YouTube who would like to know how can they improve their vocabulary and grammar. They
Well,
want
you
some
can
tips from you.
learn, they can learn anything under the sky if they are willing to. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure they'll get that guidance.
So the first one we briefly touched upon is pronunciation. All right. The second one we are going to look at is what is known as word stress. Well, you might say we know different kinds of stress, stress caused by studies, stress caused by parents, stress caused by external stimuli, and so on. But what is word stress? Do words also cause stress?
Ma'am, requesting you to enlarge your screen for the word file. That will help them see well.
It was a question I asked. That's why I minimized it. I said, what do
Okay.
we mean by word stress? Like I gave the example of different kinds of stress that we undergo, but do words also causes stress or is it something else?
Ma'am, can I speak?
Please do.
Ma'am, word stress is a stress which we put on a particular word. A word,
Mhm.
some words are divided into syllables, and we put a particular stress on a particular syllable to make an impact on the word. For example, a photographer, or calligraphy. So in these words we are putting stress on different parts of the word to uh, put a different kind of impact. Ma'am, matlab a word can have different types of stress. For example, in photographer we put the stress on the first part of the word photographer, and in photography we put the stress on second part of the word. So this is word stress.
Okay. I'm trying to share another document. Just give me half a second.
Meanwhile, can I read out the YT responses here?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Rashmi Singh says stress means accent. Meenal says
Yes.
impact of the
Is
word.
this okay?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to interrupt you for a second. Is the Word document visible wherein I have word stress and a few words?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Nikita says the word gets stressed when we speak,
Mm-hmm.
but the effort or emphasis given to a certain word is word stress.
Okay. What they're
Strain or
talking about, all right. Let us do this little exercise, but for this, I would want you to repeat after me. Dr. Sukanya, I hope that's possible.
we'll ask the Zoom candidates to do that, ma'am. And on YouTube, they can do it on their own because that's the best way they can learn, I think.
Okay. Shall we start?
Yes, ma'am. Zoom participants, you're ready. Please unmute and repeat after ma'am. And YouTube participants, we request you to pronunciate and repeat after our mentor on your own so that you can learn from it.
All right. The first word we're going to say is artist.
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 Artist,
Unmute and repeat after ma'am. And YouTube
artist,
participants, we request you to pronunciate and repeat after our mentor on your own so that you can learn from it.
Once again, artist.
Right.
The first word
Artist.
is
Artist.
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 Artist. Artist.
Driver.
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 driver,
And YouTube repeat after
Driver.
on your own so that you can learn from it.
Driver. Artist. The first word
driver,
is artist.
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 Driver.
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 And YouTube repeat after
Driver.
on your own
Driver.
learn from it.
Driver. Artist.
driver,
Friendly.
Friendly.
friendly,
Friendly.
friendly,
Friendly.
friendly,
Famous.
famous,
Famous.
famous,
Remove.
remove,
Remove.
Remove.
remove,
dislike,
Dislike. Dislike.
Dislike.
so please listen to it carefully, not dislike, dislike.
Dislike.
Once again, dislike,
Dislike.
rebuild,
Rebuild.
rebuild,
Rebuild.
become,
Become.
become,
Today.
stay, today, appear,
Appear.
appear,
Revati ma'am, 1 minute. I'm sorry for interrupting here, but I request because one of the participants might have their YouTube unmuted and it is echoing very badly. So it's heavily echoing. So can we have
yeah.
all participants on Zoom to mute your YouTube if you're watching that also? Anybody who is on YouTube, please mute it because it's echoing. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Okay. Reserve, once again,
Reserve.
You're watching that also.
reserve,
On YouTube, please mute.
Reserve.
instead,
Instead.
all right. Now what I'm going to do is randomly point out to one word and I want you to say it aloud. Whichever word I highlight in red, please say that aloud.
Driver.
Dislike.
Once again.
Dislike. Dislike.
dislike,
Listen. If you say dislike and if you say dislike, is there a change in the way you are stressing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Dislike and dislike. So what is the correct way of saying? It is not dislike, but it is dislike.
Dislike. Dislike.
Once again.
Dislike.
Next word.
Appear.
Once again.
Appear.
Are you saying appear? Are you saying appear?
Appear.
Appear. Okay. The next word. Friendly.
Friendly.
Friendly. All right. The next word in blue.
Today.
All right. The next word in blue.
Artist.
Uh-huh. Say it again. Say it again, please. The stress is on the first syllable. Artist.
Artist.
Artist. All
Artist.
right. Next word.
Famous.
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 Okay. Next
Remove.
one.
Remove.
No, it is not remove. Remove will be you move again. That is like redo. That's not how it is. Remove.
Remove.
Move.
Remove.
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 Okay. This
Rebuild.
word.
Rebuild. Rebuild.
Rebuild.
Rebuild.
Okay. This one.
Become.
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 Reserve.
Reserve. Reserve.
Reserve.
Instead.
Instead.
Instead. All right. Now, one of you asked me how to learn this. If you refer to a dictionary, whenever you look for the meaning of a word, there is something called transcription where you have the phonetic symbols and so on. I'm not too sure whether you're familiar with them. If you are, well and good. If you're not, then don't worry about it. But when you come across a word, there for every word you will find a symbol like this. This is called the stress marker. I am increasing the font size. So here in a word like driver, the first syllable is stressed. Whereas in a word like dislike, you can see the stress marker just before the sound L over here. This is the stress marker. So this means that you don't stress the first syllable, but you stress the second syllable. So I'm not touching upon words with several other syllables because that's a totally different area and I'll need at least a week to teach you about all that. I'm just introducing you to some of the concepts which you can check in the dictionary in case you have a doubt. If you don't know how to pronounce a word and where to stress and so on, the dictionary is the best source of information. So this is a little in a nutshell about the word stress. Now I'm going to key in something for you to look at. And I want you to say this aloud for me, please. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I have some volunteers read this aloud?
We are going to
We
cut
are going to
and
cut and
paste
paste kids.
What is the meaning of this sentence?
That the
probably
kids
a
are going to
text.
do some kind of art and craft.
Really?
A text that needs to be cut and
Actually, the teacher is telling the kids that they are going to cut and paste today.
Is that the
The
meaning? They are going.
punctuation mark is missing.
Yes, ma'am. The comma is missing.
Okay.
no, not cut and paste. Probably in a text in a Word document, we're going to cut and paste something.
All right.
A woman without a man is a
Is a
savage.
savage.
What is the meaning of this?
A single woman is a confident woman.
What is the meaning of the word savage?
Ma'am, rude.
Bold.
Uncultured.
Can a couple of other people read it out,
Bold.
please?
A woman without a man is a savage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can any of the boys volunteer?
A woman without her man is a savage.
Okay. I'm giving you one more sentence.
When I sing
When I sing well,
When I
ladies
sing well, ladies feel sick.
When I sing well, ladies feel sick.
Okay. Did you ever try singing?
No, ma'am.
All right. Now, please listen to how I'm going to read out these three sentences. The first one, after this, I'll give you another interesting thing to read. When you say we are going to cut and paste kids, it means that we are literally going to cut the kids into pieces and paste them, right? When you say we are going to cut and paste kids, you're inserting a comma here and you say we're going to cut and paste kids. Notice the difference. We're going to cut and paste kids. That means you're literally going to cut the kids into pieces and paste them. But if you pause here and you say, we're going to cut and paste kids, which means you're addressing the kids and you're telling them what we're going to do now is to cut and paste. Look at the second one, how the meaning changes completely when you say a woman. Without her, man is a savage. A woman without her man is a savage. Any difference? Any difference? Do you want
Without
me to repeat?
man, the savage.
So when you say a woman without her, man is a savage. What you're saying is without a woman, a man is a savage. So you're pausing here, and you're saying a woman without her, man is a savage, which means this is the savage. But if you take out the pauses in between and you say, a woman without her man is a savage, it means that the woman is a savage. All right. The third one, when I sing well, ladies feel sick. Or if you say, when I sing well, ladies feel sick. Or even if you don't pause here and you say, when I sing well, ladies feel sick. So the meaning completely changes. So this brings me to the third concept, for which I would want you to read a very interesting one and tell me how you understood it. Should I increase the font size?
Yes, ma'am, you can increase it a bit.
Okay. Still?
Ma'am,
Should
one
I
more font size. Yeah.
increase it?
Yes, ma'am. Two size more would be, I think, appropriate for them to view.
Wait a second. Then what I'll do is I'll decrease the space in between.
what we are going through is highly interesting, ma'am. And I'm sure the students who are into this WhatsApp and Instagram, they must be going across so many memes that make very vulnerable use of this kind of an English mistake that we commonly use. Thank you so much. Like, I'm sure everybody on YouTube is responding that it is very interesting and they are enjoying the session till far.
Thank you. Okay, enjoy this letter now. Done? I'm not going to ask any questions based on this. Just read it for fun. Let me know when you are done.
Yes, ma'am, they have read it.
Done.
So YouTube, we have answers like, yes, ma'am, we are reading it.
Okay. Now read the other version of the same letter.
Ma'am, the YouTube participants have read it and they say it's an excellent love letter. They respond that this is hilarious. I'm sure they're loving
All
this
right.
session as much as I am doing.
Now what I'm going to do is decrease the font size a little bit and put these two together so that you can see how punctuation brings about a change in the meaning. Okay, these are the two letters that you've read, and look at the way the meaning completely changes by just changing the punctuation. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Ma'am, our YouTube participants say that, ma'am, it's totally different. And yes, it has changed the whole meaning of the text. This word stands to
Completely.
because of punctuations, and the entire concept of letter has changed.
Very true. So if you notice, there is not a single word that has been changed in these two letters. They are exactly the same in terms of number of words. But a simple change in punctuation makes two letters completely different. The meaning has totally changed. That is what punctuation does in writing. In speech, since we don't have punctuation, we use pauses. All right. To give you lesser examples, not something like this. For instance, if you have a sentence like, where would you pause? Responses, please. I want you to read it aloud, then only you would get the pause.
Last week, they had a get together.
Last week they had to get together.
Okay. So you would have, in all probability, paused over here. Let's take up one more everyday example.
Once upon a time, there lived a tyrant ruler.
Once upon a time, there lived a tyrant ruler.
Could you repeat, please?
Once upon a
Once
time,
upon a time,
there lived
there
a
lived a tyrant ruler.
So where did you pause?
ma'am, after
Time.
the time.
Once upon a time, after that.
After that. So this is known as one tone group or pause group. Whatever I have highlighted in blue, it can be before the slant or after the slant. For the sake of convenience, I'm using two colors. These are known as tone groups or pause groups. Because it is important to pause while we are speaking. Otherwise, you will just go on and on and on and on. No one understands what you're saying. I'm reading out a couple of sentences from this letter. I want a man who knows what love is all about. You are generous, kind, thoughtful people who are not like you, admit to being useless and inferior. You have ruined me for other men, I and for you I have no. Does it make sense?
No, ma'am.
Absolutely not. This is where we have the concept of pausing, and pausing at the appropriate place is very important. Otherwise, you see what happens with these two examples and also the sentences we've had earlier where we looked at the change in meaning because of a wrong pause. Okay. Let's do a little exercise now. How much time do we? Okay, we have half an hour. Here, we are looking at two sets of sentences. Is this visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We can divide these sentences in two ways. For instance, I bought a ticket and got on the train. Or you could say, I bought a ticket and got on the train. Now, for each of these pair of sentences, cross out the one where the grouping does not make sense. So you have three of them. Sorry. I'm going to expand or increase the font size so that it is visible to everyone. You read it for yourself and tell me whether A or B makes sense, doesn't make sense, which of these two is correct in your view. Take about 3 minutes for those three sentences.
Ma'am, we have some answers from YouTube.
Okay.
Uh, they put it as this way. I'll just not taking the names of the students because there are too many answers. So in sentence
Yeah,
one, part sense.
one second. We'll take up the first one first and then move on to the other ones.
Okay. So in sentence one, part A, 1A makes sense.
All right. What about the others? Do you agree with this answer that part in sentence one, A makes sense. It was a small car with a red stripe along the side. Whereas B doesn't make sense. It was a small car with a red stripe along the side. Do you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you say it is correct? Because we need to know why we are saying, before we knock off something, we need to know why we are saying that is wrong. Any responses to that? Why do you say this one is wrong?
Ma'am, because we can say that it was a small car, then we will take a break, and then we'll say that it means that it was a small car, it makes sense, and after that with a stripe along with the side. But in the second one, it says that it was a small car with a red. It doesn't make sense, means the sentence is not complete, and stripe along the car, matlab, the sentence is not complete. So the first one is correct and the second one is not.
Very true. Also, if you look at it from the grammatical point of view, this one is a complete sentence. It was a small car. It makes perfect sense. Now, when you look at this one, a red stripe is a phrase. You can't break a phrase in between and say a red and stripe to the other one. If you're saying it, you need to take all these three together. A red stripe. You don't say then red stripe, or you don't say a red and then say stripe. So that is the logic we've applied in ruling out this one. So this is wrong. All right, let's move on to the second one.
Ma'am, for the second one, there's a mixed response. Majority go for 2A and some even go for 2B option.
Okay.
Ma'am, for the second one, it will be 2A.
All right.
In one, two,
Why do
eight.
you say that?
Ma'am, in the first part, we are asking, do you want chicken and chips? And in the second part, it's or fish and salad. So the first
Right.
and second part, it's very clear. And in the second B, do you want chicken and chips or fish? It's not making a sense. And salad. So that's why.
Precisely. Yeah.
Ma'am,
If you look at, yes,
meaningless.
go on, please. Yeah. These two become one unit, chicken and chips or fish and salad. So you can't break in between and say fish and salad, chips or fish and salad. It doesn't make sense. So even in this case, the second one is wrong. Let's look at the third one.
Ma'am, here the
Ma'am,
B
for
is correct. B makes sense.
The same logic which we applied for this first one. This is a phrase, the most expensive suit, till here. So suit, noun, expensive, then you have a superlative degree. This entire one is a phrase, the most expensive suit. You can't break that wherever you want. Therefore, in this case, this sentence is wrong. Can we quickly have one or two people read out the correct ones, please? Because it's practice and pausing. Please speak where the way this indicates a break in the sentence. This indicates the tone group. So this is one tone group. This is the other one. So please, sorry, this is the other one. So pause here for a very brief period, not complete period, very short. It was a small car with a red stripe along the side. Can I have volunteers,
It was a
please?
small car
It was a
with red
small
stripes
car
along the side.
red stripe
with a red
along the side.
stripe along the side.
Okay. The second one.
Do you
Do you
want
want
Do you
chicken
want
and
chicken or
chips
chips
or fish and salad?
fish or salad?
Once again.
Do
Do
you
you
want
want
Do
do
you
you
chicken
want
want
and
Chicken
chicken
and
and
chicken
chips
salad
or
or
fish and
fish
salad?
and salad?
Okay. The third one.
Daniel?
Daniel
Daniel
can wear the
can
most
wear most
expensive
the
suit,
most
but he never looks
expensive
smart.
smart.
All right. Now, what I'm going to do is this is a small exercise for you. I will reduce the space and increase the font size. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to read this aloud for you, and you tell me where pauses need to be included. Okay. First, read this, then we will take this up. All right. You can tell me after I complete reading it for once, wherever you have indicated pauses, just make a note of that and share your responses. Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am.
A man wanted to buy his wife a new dress because it was her birthday. So he went to a department store and looked around, and he was looking for about an hour, but he couldn't decide. And finally, the shop assistant came and asked if he needed help. He said he was looking for a dress, and the shop assistant asked, "Is it for you, sir?" Do you want me to read it again?
First pause will be after buy. A man wanted to buy pause. his wife pause a new dress
Ma'am, after
because it was
dress.
her birthday.
Do you want me to read it again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. A man wanted to buy his wife a new dress because it was her birthday. So he went to a department store and looked around, and he was looking for about an hour, but he couldn't decide. And finally, this shop assistant came and asked if he needed help. He said he was looking for a dress, and the shop assistant asked, "Is it for you, sir?" Now you tell me, where did I pause?
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
after new
after
dress,
new dress, there is a pause.
Okay,
And after birthday,
all right.
after birthday, and then after
to
store,
store,
Department store.
then around,
Mm-hmm.
Looked about for an
Hour.
hour.
hour,
After hour,
after hour,
he
decide,
couldn't decide.
Decide.
came,
and came,
Came
Came,
final
After help.
asked
and
if
then
he needed help.
help,
help
Help. He said,
dress,
after
and then
dress,
After dress.
After said.
looking for a
shop
dress,
said
asked,
and then
and
after
then
dress.
after
is it
is it for you,
You
sir?
after you.
After you.
Do you need a pause there?
no,
Is
ma'am,
it for you, sir?
no
no, ma'am,
ma'am.
no, ma'am.
No, ma'am, we don't.
We don't need it. All right. Now you try reading this aloud. One or two people, please.
A man
A
wanted
man
to
wanted to
buy
buy
his
his
new
wife
dress,
a dress,
One
new
after,
dress.
one
was her
after the
birthday.
other.
So
He
he
went
went
to
to a
department
department
store
store
and looked
Participants, can we have
around.
only one reading out? Because otherwise it's very wobbly. Just one of you read, and then when you finish, the other one can read again.
A man wanted to buy his wife a new dress because it was her birthday. So he went to a department store and looked around. And he was looking for about an hour, but he couldn't decide. And finally, the shop assistant came and asked if he needed help. He said he was looking for a dress. And the shop assistant asked, "Is it for you, sir?"
All right. Would one more person try out?
A man wanted to buy his wife a new dress because it was her birthday. So he went to a department store and looked around. And he was looking for about an hour, but he couldn't decide. And finally, the shop assistant came and asked if he needed help. He said he was going for a dress, and the shop assistant asked, "Is it for you, sir?"
All right. I think I heard it as he was going for a dress. Did you say going or was it looking?
Looking.
Looking. I'm taking you back to the word stress pattern because I don't have enough time to start another topic, another 10 minutes maybe. So what we will do now is I'm going to read out these 4 words. You will have to identify the word which comes with a different stress pattern from the others. Is it clear? Should I repeat?
yes, ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, for what? Should I repeat or is it clear?
Ma'am, please pardon. Please repeat it.
All right. what I'm going to do now is read, for instance, these 4 words. Say those 4 words aloud. You will have to identify which of the 3 words have the same pattern and which one word has a different stress word. For example, if you look at these words, here the stress is on the first syllable, artist, whereas here it is on the second syllable, that is remove, right? So these 2 words have different stress patterns. Here, all these words have the stress on the first syllable, whereas over here, these have stress on the second syllable. So they're different. In the same way, I'll read out these 4 words for you. I'll say these words aloud. Listen to me carefully and identify the word which has a different stress pattern. Okay? Is it okay? Or shall we do the first one together?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Answer, agree, allow, attract. I'm going to say it again. Answer, agree, allow, attract. So where do you think, which word has a different stress pattern?
Answer. Answer.
Answer, right. For all these, the stress pattern is on the first syllable. When you say agree, sorry, it's on the second one. Allow, attract. Whereas here, it is on the first one. So this word has a different stress pattern. So that we are going to, let's say, put it in blue. Now, did you understand? All you have to do is just tell me the word which has a different stress pattern. That's all. Did you understand now?
Yes, ma'am. Mistake.
Let me utter these words. Middle, minute, mission, mistake.
Mistake.
I repeat, middle, minute, mission, mistake. So which word has a different stress pattern?
Mistake. Mistake.
Mistake, because the stress is on the second syllable. Mistake. Dr. Sukanya, are we getting responses from students on the YouTube as well? Should I go ahead or wait for responses from students on the YouTube? Hello? Is she there?
Ma'am, we can move ahead. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Sukanya
All
ma'am,
right,
your voice
I'll
is
go.
very low.
I'm not audible.
Very low. The sound is very low.
Now,
Can you hear me, ma'am, now?
fine?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am. I think we can move ahead because on YouTube we have huge response. Around 95% of the students say mistake. Though there was a mixed response, 60 to 40%. 60% said answer, 40 said attract. But for the second one, most of them agree with mistake. So we can move on.
Okay. All right. So the third set of words that I'm going to say aloud, please listen carefully. In fact, I shouldn't have projected the words. They should just listen to it. Compare, correct, copy, collect. I repeat, compare,
Compare.
correct,
Compare.
copy, collect.
Ma'am, it's copy.
Copy.
It is copy.
All right, I'm going to highlight this. Tell me why you think this is the one.
Ma'am, we have again mixed response from YT, YouTube. Huge
Uh-huh.
response for compare, but at least 25% go for copy.
Okay. When you say compare, the stress is on per, the second syllable. Compare, not compare. So this is the stress pattern. Compare. Similarly, correct. Similarly, collect. But over here, it is copy. That is why this particular word does not share the same word stress pattern as the other words share. All right, the next ones I'm not going to show here, but I'm going to say them aloud. Please listen. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we're there.
Yeah, there's some technical issue. I don't know if I'm audible.
You're very much audible, ma'am. Loud and clear. Can you hear us, ma'am? Can you hear us, ma'am?
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely,
Okay.
ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Next set of sentences. Garden, granny, guitar, grammar. I repeat.
Guitar.
Garden, granny, guitar, grammar.
Guitar.
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 Okay, so you have the correct word now. This one, the first syllable is stressed, whereas in the other ones, it is the second syllables. So we are going in for the next one. Complete, common, careful, crazy. Complete, common, careful, crazy.
Complete.
Crazy.
Okay, here.
Crazy. Crazy.
Complete.
All right. We have two answers. Let's look at each of these. I don't know if I'm audible. I've been talking. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Very loud and clear.
All right. Okay. In these three words, it is the first syllable. We say common, careful, crazy. Whereas here we are saying complete. So which syllable do you hear with a little more force to that? Is it complete or is it complete? Similarly, common or common. If you stress on this one, then it will be pronounced as common. Here also, if you stress on the second syllable, it will be pronounced as careful. If you stress here on the second syllable, then your answer will be crazy. Therefore, this word is not the one, whereas it is the word complete, where you have the syllable per stressed.
Ma'am, we
Shall
have
we move
major
on?
answers for complete on YouTube, though some were confused with crazy also. And I think now they have got a clear, uh, they have understood the entire concept. So now they have been posting on
Okay.
complete.
All right. Let's move on to the next one, next set of words. Pronounce, provide, promise, prefer. I repeat, pronounce, provide, promise, prefer.
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 Promise.
These are the words. Pronounce, provide, promise, refer.
Prefer.
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 Okay. Where is the stress in this word? Pronounce.
After pro.
Okay. So it's a second syllable. Here, provide.
Again after pro.
Okay. Here, promise.
Pro.
After pro.
After pro.
Is it promise or is it promise?
Promise.
Promise.
Promise. Before.
So where is the stress?
Ma'am, first letter P.
Before
The
P.
first sound. The stress is on per. Promise, not promise. Over here, the stress is on the second syllable, pronounce, provide, prefer, whereas over here it is on the first one, promise. Therefore, this word is the one which doesn't belong to the set. All right, the last one, reason, remove, receive, review. I repeat, reason, remove, receive, review.
Reason. Reason.
Reason, that's correct, because we are stressing on the first syllable, the
Third
r
syllable.
sound. Reason, we are not saying reason, we're not stressing on the second one, it's reason. Whereas in the other words, remove, receive, review, the second one is stressed. Okay, so I'm going to wind up the session. We've today looked at some of the important features of spoken English, beginning with the concept of pronunciation, how pronunciation is important for us in spoken English. And the second one we have looked at is the word stress. And the third one, the importance of grouping words and pausing at the appropriate places. I'm not going to meet you tomorrow, but I'll definitely meet you on the day after. In the meantime, please do that little bit of homework that I have given you. And in case there are any questions, I'll take them up on the day after when I meet you. All right? Or I don't have I'm going to meet you tomorrow, but I'll definitely meet you on the day after. Please do that little bit of homework that I have given you. And in case there are any, we have time for questions, or should I wind up?
Ma'am, it's 11, so like you could take a few minutes more if you want to, add on to it.
No, in case you have any questions, I'm willing to take them. If you don't have any questions, then let's call it a day.
On YouTube, there are no questions yet. Do participants on Zoom have any questions?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, if I may speak.
Please,
Yes, surely,
go
please.
ahead.
Ma'am, you discussed about how do we communicate. So, ma'am, I wanted to ask, if we are speaking to an audience, how do we know that we are able to communicate our ideas or our goals to our audience?
Day after when I meet you. All right? Now, understand question. Are you trying to ask me how do we have communicated to the audience, whether they've understood us or not? Is that what you
Yes, ma'am.
asked me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you're trying to? Okay. There are several ways of finding that out. For instance, the face-to-face communication. In fact, research tells us that we communicate a lot
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, so we can't hear you clearly. Ma'am, are you there? Can you hear us, ma'am? Ma'am, we can't hear you. I think our resource person is having a little bit of issues at her end with the connectivity. But I must thank her for the enthralling and captivating session
Or
that
I
she
don't know
has.
if we have time for questions. Dr. Sukanya should tell me that.
I'll just check in the YouTube, ma'am. There are no questions. There are only applause and appreciation
No,
for
I
your
didn't.
wonderful
Okay.
session.
Didn't understand your question. Whether they have understood us or not. Is it? Hello? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Participants, if you have any questions, please post it on YouTube and also on the Zoom platform. If any of you have a question or two, please do post in. Our mentor is still waiting for you to come up with your questions, your queries, anything that you want to. The link to the attendance come feedback form has been posted to you on your YouTube, your WhatsApp group, and also on the Zoom chat box. Please fill up your feedback form and submit within 30 minutes. Ma'am, we don't have any questions as of now. Students have thanked you for such an interactive and captivating session, making the session highly interesting for them. The response says it all on YouTube. Huge mass scale of response, sharing their feedback and thanking you for this session. Personally, I feel that I've learned a lot, and we all have been, enthralled by this session. I now request our assistant professor from Department of English, Dr. Janet Andrew Shah, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sukanya. I think the biggest compliment to Dr. Revathi here today is that in spite of the network breakdown, she has communicated so effectively to our students how to be better listeners and better speakers. Revathi ma'am, it has been an enriching experience these days to be with you and to learn anew what makes a good listener and then a good speaker. Effective communication overcomes hurdles of unconscious erroneous speech habits, and your session with our students will assist them in rediscovering their skills and correct themselves, and with proper stress, how to stress correctly, how to make tone groups. And it is no wonder that you are such a wonderful mentor. You have studied at one of the best from UMBC at Maryland, and then now you are at the best in India. We're indeed privileged that you share with us your expertise. I'm sure your students will come away from this program much better speakers and listeners than they were yesterday. Dr. Devjani, Chairperson of CPE, deepest gratitude to you for being the facilitator for the sponsorship from UGC. And most of all, the biggest gratitude goes to Dr. Sister Jyoti, our principal and patron for this program. She's always a bulwark and support for us in all our quest for newer ways of learning. Thank you, sister. There's an announcement for the students. I think Dr. Sukanya has given it. Please fill in your feedback forms that you have received. This will ensure your registration and your attendance. And check for the link for the next exciting and very insightful session that we will have with Dr. Veda Sharan. Please check that link and please log in on time. Thank you. We conclude the session now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we conclude this session, I would like to make a small announcement that tomorrow our session again begins at 10 a.m. when we will have the test. Dr. Revathi would not be there with us. So we on 10th of September, that is tomorrow, at 10 a.m., every student should be logged in for the test. Details of the test will be given to you on the spot tomorrow. But for that, you can study from all the sessions that you have attended till now. That also includes the next session with Professor M.E. Vedasharan. So dear students, study well. You have heard every lecture. I'm sure it's not going to be too tough. So we come back now at 11:30 sharp. Please log in with your new links. And then tomorrow at 10 a.m.